Chapter 41. Random Side Quest. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Host has triggered Random Side Quest, Black Cloud Underground Palace. Lin Feng was dazed for a moment before reacting over. He's already got a quest on his hands that he still hasn't even completed yet, and this damned system has actually given out a new quest. Could this also be time-bound, or else he'll be killed? Lin Feng shakingly opened up the quest description. Random Side Quest, Black Cloud Underground Palace. Quest background. The Underground Palace was originally the cultivation abode of the wandering cultivator Taoist Master He Yun. When Taoist Master He Yun established his abode, he accidentally opened up a void space, causing the lowest level of the Underground Palace to be connected with the Nether Blood River. Taoist Master He Yun suffered disaster and died. TL. He Yun means Black Cloud. Quest goal. Host obtains Taoist Master He Yun's soul-bound magic item, the Black Cloud flag that he lost in the cultivation abode. Quest time limit. 7 days. Quest becomes invalid if it is not completed on time. Quest becomes invalid. Lin Feng blinked his eyes and let out a long sigh of relief. The system may be full of crap, but it always screws him over up front and not secretly behind his back. Since it says there's no penalty if the quest is unfinished when the time limit is reached, then there shouldn't be any danger. Looking at it now, only the main questline has a death penalty, while side quests are a lot better. If completed, there's probably a reward; if incompleted, then that's okay too. Lin Feng's mind started to turn. Taoist Master He Yun, Taoist Master. Then he's an Aurus Core stage cultivator. The Heaven Primal World has a couple of common rules. Aurus Core stage cultivators can be called Taoist Master, and Primordial Spirit stage cultivators can be called True Lord or Progenitor. These titles are all universally acknowledged and are not easily wrong. If a Foundation Establishment stage cultivator dares to call himself Taoist Master so, then that's not even a problem of being laughed at. Trouble could very likely come knocking on the door. But the quest background mentioned that the deepest part of this Black Cloud Underground Palace is actually connected to the Nether Blood River. This instantly made Lin Feng's balls hurt. Legend says that in the Netherworld there is an endless and boundless Nether Blood River. Within it flows tainted blood that is called Absolute Blood River Water. Absolute Blood River Water is one of the 7 great absolute waters of the world, and is also a water of uttermost evil and foulness. It is the most foul thing in the world. Even the greatest spells and most spiritual magic items, as long as they are stained with the slightest bit, they will instantly be polluted and lose their mana. This cultivation abode's previous owner fell precisely to this blood river. Such danger made Lin Feng quite hesitant. The people of the Society of the Strong Gale are also probably just moving around on the upper level of the underground palace. They still might not know yet that this place harbors a great danger. I guess I'll just see as I go. Anyhow, I've got to go down to find Zhu Yi. At most I just won't go to the deepest part. Lin Feng thought for a moment and then made up his mind. He then said towards his 2 disciples beside him. This underground palace is not ordinary. You guys stick close to me and don't run around. Xiao Yan and Xiao Budian can both see the serious expression on their master's face. Thinking that even their almighty master was so serious, the 2 people nodded their heads at once. Lin Feng waved his sleeves. Let's go. Deep in the underground palace, the cultivators of the Society of the Strong Gale held on to Zhu Yi and were hastily advancing. They've already walked out of the tunnel. Appearing in front of them is a massive pit. The group of people followed along the edge of the pit and went around. The narrow pathway only allowed one person to advance sideways, looking incredibly dangerous. The black-clothed man said while walking. Everybody watch your step. If you fall from here, we won't even be able to find your bones. Amongst the group, Zhu Yi's eyes flashed and he lowered his head. As if knowing what he was thinking in his heart, the black-clothed man said coldly. Don't have any ideas, everybody here can crush you like crushing a mosquito. Zhu Yi was silent. One cultivator of the Society of the Strong Gale asked. Head, isn't this place our secret base in the heart of the Zhou dynasty? That black-clothed man said. This is a cultivation abode an elder master left behind. It's already been abandoned for a long time. Spiritual and foul energies exist together, so it hasn't been discovered by anyone this entire time. The society also only just discovered it not too long ago by accident. After exploration it was discovered that this place is not suitable for cultivation, but we could set up a transportation formation. Its distance is not far away from the Zhou Dog's capital city Tianjing, so we used this place as a path of retreat to help us retreat after our operation. Speaking here, the black-clothed man's expression was a bit pale, touching the scar on his face with a lingering fear. But this underground palace still has a lot of things that we haven't figured out, especially the depths of the underground palace. Not a single one of the mates who went in to investigate returned, they all went missing. Speaking here, all of the Society of the Strong Gale cultivators subconsciously glanced at the pitch-black pit beneath their feet. That place is like a bottomless abyss, and also like a monster opening its giant mouth, devouring all who dare to pry. Zhu Yi's blood also froze from listening, looking at the abyss below his feet. His expression was terrified. Nobody had the mood to talk. In the darkness only the fluorite in their hands released a faint glow that constantly flickered. The group of people went around the giant pit. In front of them appeared the entrance of another tunnel. Zhu Yi closely observed it. Different from the previous tunnels that they passed through, this tunnel is clearly newly dug. Through this tunnel is the location of the transportation formation set up by the Society of the Strong Gale. It can shift the space between two fixed locations, but only once. If it weren't for the fact that they didn't have any other choice, the black-clothed man really didn't want to use it. Especially since after their exposure this time, this cultivation abode will definitely be discovered by the Zhou dynasty. Even if they want to set up another formation it would be impossible. The black-clothed man shook his head. Wait here for a bit. If Hui Ku and them still can't catch up then we can only go on ahead first. Whether or not other people can catch up is not important, as long as we catch up then it's good. In the dark space a voice suddenly rose up. The expressions of all of the cultivators of the Society of the Strong Gale paled. The next moment they saw a human figure appear in the air, just steadily standing in the air above the abyss like that. The black-clothed man's heart sank. They were still caught up to. Wave after wave of powerful mana fluctuations sprang up in the surroundings. Right now the hearts of the people of the Society of the Strong Gale sank to the bottom. 7. A whole 7 foundation establishment stage cultivators have surrounded them. Amongst them, besides the leading black-clothed man being a foundation establishment stage cultivator, the rest of them are all Qi disciple stage. Yet the opposing side has a whole 7 foundation establishment stage cultivators, just half of them can take care of them all. The middle-aged man in purple fine clothes at the front laughed saying. Stay behind all of you. His 2 hands rising up together, 9 rings of light flew out from his palms, heading towards the heads of the cultivators of the Society of the Strong Gale. The rings of light looked to be flying very slowly. When they arrived above their heads they suddenly stopped. Each ring of light released a white pillar of light, beaming on their respective person. One Society of the Strong Gale cultivator released a loud shout, bringing up a water spell to withstand it and casting a water screen before him, but it did not have any effect. The pillar of light beamed onto his body unhindered. No changes occurred when the white pillar of light beamed on his body. The Society of the Strong Gale cultivator was dazed. He didn't understand why a foundation establishment stage cultivator would do such a meaningless thing. But the next moment, the pillar of light suddenly changed from white to red. Being beamed on by the red pillar of light, the eyes of the cultivator of the Society of the Strong Gale instantly went blank. His entire body was completely frozen as if he had been hit with a petrification spell. He couldn't move even a pinky finger. At this time, the ring of light in the air followed the red pillar of light and landed downwards, slipping onto his neck and then directly carrying away that Society of the Strong Gale cultivator. Flying upwards, his body uncontrollably flew towards that purple-fine-clothed middle-aged man. The 9 rings of light each completed their tasks, capturing alive 9 cultivators of the Society of the Strong Gale in an instant. Don't mention fighting back, these Society of the Strong Gale cultivators couldn't even put an end to themselves. Capturing these 9 people, the purple-fine-clothed middle-aged man took off the rings of light around their necks, but they still couldn't move. The purple-fine clothed middle-aged man repeated the same steps, waving his hands. The 9 rings of light then flew towards the remaining cultivators of the Society of the Strong Gale. The black-clothed man released a furious shout and brought out a small drum. The pounding sounds of the small drum rose up, the piercing sound made the 6 Foundation Establishment Stage cultivators on the other side all involuntarily frown. The sound of the drum brought up waves of invisible ripples, blocking the 9 rings of light in the air, making them unable to fly over. The purple-fine-clothed middle-aged man slightly frowned, he said towards the other people. Friends of the 5 Elements sect, please give a helping hand. Amongst the remaining 6 people, 5 people were wearing apparel of the same style, but the colors were all different. They were white, green, black, red and yellow, signifying the 5 elements: metal, wood, fire, water and earth. The leading yellow-clothed old man let out a dry cough. No need to be courteous, fellow Taoist, this is part of our duties. In an instant, powerful mana fluctuations surged together from the bodies of the 5 people, filling the entire space. The black-clothed man's expression slightly changed, he shouted saying, "We, the Society of the Strong Gale, have operated here for years, how can we allow you guys to run wild here?" Finishing speaking, he crushed a jade tablet. The originally chaotic spiritual energy in the underground palace suddenly became calm. A spell formation flashing with a dazzling spiritual light surfaced in the air, the sound of wind traveled out from the formation. The next moment, massive tornadoes rushed out from the formation, roaring towards the 7 cultivators of the House of the Marquis like angry dragons. TL. Probably irrelevant, but the Chinese word for tornado, hurricane, twister, etc. contains the word dragon. A dozen of tornadoes rampaged around, mingling together and turning the cave into a world of storms. Everything in the path of the tornadoes were all ripped to shreds, on the stone walls they left behind countless deep gashes. For a while, violent winds howled and the earth split as if it were the end of the world. This spell formation is enough to rip apart Foundation Establishment Stage cultivators, only those with Aurus Core Stage strength can remain safe. But those 5 cultivators of the 5 Elements sect were not nervous. Looking at each other, the yellow-clothed old man amongst them laughed saying, "We'll have you see what we can do." The 5 people launched their spells together, shouting out together. Inverse 5 Elements Demon Ceiling Formation. 5-colored divine light rose up to the skies, instantly illuminating the entire cave, even the pitch-black abyss below became brightened. Them 5 people come from the same sect, each of them practices a Tao technique of a different attribute. This inverse 5 elements demon ceiling formation the 5 people work together to set up is enough to suppress all enemies below Aurus Core Stage. The violent gale was overwhelmed by the 5-colored divine light, being frozen in the air and unable to continue wreaking havoc. Right now the black-clothed man was soaked in sweat. On one side he has to control the small drum to intercept the purple-fine-clothed middle-aged man's rings of light, on the other side he also has to urge the spell formation to confront the enemy's inverse 5 elements demon ceiling formation. Being attacked on 2 fronts, even if he has the home ground advantage he's still being heavily suppressed. Right when he was feeling anxious, a voice unhurriedly rose up. "Why are you guys so slow? 7 against 1 and you guys still need so much time." The next moment, a human figure surfaced in the air, just steadily standing in the air above the abyss like that and looking down on everyone. Chapter 42. Out of the lion's den and then into the wolf's lair. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Even though he is in the middle of mortal combat with the enemy, the black-clothed man completely ignored those 7 Foundation Establishment Stage cultivators. It's not that he doesn't care, but that all of his attention was placed on that person in mid-air. The person did not reveal even a hint of mana fluctuations, but it's precisely because of this that he is so terrifying. It needs to be known that he is floating in the air using only his own mana. Beneath his feet is a bottomless abyss. That is a middle-aged man. He is white and fat and looks like a ball of kindness when he smiles. He is even fatter than Fatty Zhu, who went to look for Zhu Yi's trouble before. After this person appeared, those 7 Foundation establishment cultivators of the House of the Marquis stopped attacking. The black-clothed man was still suffering from shock and also did not dare to act rashly. The fat middle-aged man smilingly looked at Zhu Yi in the crowd of people, saying gently, "Young Master Yi, I'm here to take you home." Against this middle-aged man here to save him, Zhu Yi's expression was even worse than those of the black-clothed man and company. He tightly clenched his fists and did not say anything. The black-clothed man took a deep breath. "How do I address you?" The middle-aged man lightly smiled. "You might have heard of my name before. The name's Huang. People are used to calling me Huang San. TL. San means 3, since he's the 3rd steward of the Marquis." Fatty Huang San still smiled amiably, but the faces of the cultivators of the Society of the Strong Gale had become as pale as death. Huang San, the 3rd steward under the Marquis of Xuanji Zhu Hongwu and his close confidant. He is specially responsible for dealing with some private matters for the Marquis of Xuanji. He is cruel and merciless and has significant fame, but he keeps a low profile. Very few people have seen his true face, but who would have thought that he is a fat middle-aged man. Right now the black-clothed man's entire body was as if he'd fallen through ice, because he knows that this fatty in front them who looks like a friendly merchant is an honest-to-God Oris core stage cultivator. But the hatred of his fallen country, the vengeance of his people, his pride, his hatred, his anger, all made it impossible for him to submit before this person before him. The faces of all of the cultivators of the Society of the Strong Gale revealed a steadfast expression. Even if their bodies slightly trembled from instinctive fear, they still stood shoulder to shoulder, facing head on the powerful foe in front of their eyes who can obliterate them with just one finger. Huang San let out a long sigh. Snowgale country. No, now it's our Zhou dynasty's Snowgale County. If you ask me, we should kill all of the natives and then immigrate people over from within the Zhou dynasty, then there wouldn't be any problems. TL. Genocide, does it work? History says. Sometimes. The black-clothed man flew into a rage and manipulated the tornado spell formation. In an instant dozens of tornadoes roared out, attacking Huang San from different angles and directions. Huang San laughed, a pair of eyes squinting to the point that they almost couldn't be seen. "You guys still can't figure out the situation." Before his voice had even died away, Huang San lifted up his hand slightly. A chilling wind like it had come from the abysmal depths of hell instantly swept through the entire underground palace. Almost in an instant, this underground palace directly turned into a world of ice and snow. The stone walls were covered in a layer of crystal clear ice. A dazzling radiance flashes when the fluorite shines onto it. The entire space became brightened. In the time of one breath, the entire underground palace turned into an ice hole. The raging tornadoes were stopped in their tracks and frozen in pillars of ice. They still maintained their previous state, but looking at them now they were incredibly laughable. This was just the start. What was frozen in ice was far from just the tornadoes. Starting from the black-clothed man, a layer of white frost had formed from thin air on the surface of the bodies of all of the Society of the Strong Gale cultivators. In the end they were about to be turned into ice sculptures. Yet, Zhu Yi, who was standing in the middle of them, was safe and sound. Not only was he not attacked by the ice, Zhu Yi couldn't even feel a change in the surrounding temperature. The black-clothed man's expression changed rapidly. Biting his teeth he raised his hand and threw out a talisman. In the air, Huang San's eyes flashed. An Oris core talisman. The talisman the black-clothed man threw out was shockingly an Oris core talisman. It is created by an Aurus Core stage cultivator and its power is the same as the full-powered attack of an Aurus Core stage cultivator. The talisman exploded in mid-air, turning into rolling thunder. Countless snakes of lightning shot out in all directions, ripping apart Huang San's mana blockade in an instant. Countless cracks appeared on the surface of the ice, crawling out like spider webs. The dazzling light of the lightning shone on the ice, illuminating the underground palace as if it were the daytime. Countless pieces of ice broke apart, falling into the abyss below like it was raining. Amongst the calamity, the entire underground palace was like a doomsday where all hell had broken loose. Even the expressions of those 6 Foundation establishment stage cultivators who came with Huang San paled, doing their best to steady themselves. But they could still be considered calm, their eyes all looked towards the air at the lightning's direct target, Huang San. Huang San's expression was as usual, he even had the spare time to laugh. A dying struggle. Lifting up his 2 palms, at this moment powerful mana revealed its towering presence, the massive space seemed to have frozen, at this moment the surging cold air actually froze the violent lightning. In the snow-white chilly air, the violently thrashing lightning was like a bound flying dragon, but under the imprisonment of the cold air its movements became more and more stiff. The cave that seemed like an earthquake was happening before had also calmed down at this moment. The doomsday-like sight had been casually quelled by Huang San. Huang San smiled saying, "As Aurus Core stage cultivators, there is still a separation of high and low." The cultivators of the Society of the Strong Gale became even more frightened. Huang San treats the talisman that possesses the attack of an Aurus Core stage cultivator as nothing. The black-clothed man glanced at Zhu Yi, not daring to have any hesitation he grabbed Zhu Yi and directly threw him towards the abyss under their feet. He then charged towards the transportation spell formation in the depths of the tunnel without even turning his head. Huang San smiled, splitting out a sliver of mana. He was about to catch Zhu Yi who was falling downward, but a strong foul energy suddenly surged up from the bottom of the abyss. This foul energy was like a slumbering monster that had been suddenly awoken by the previous events. Huang San's eyes that had already become a slit jerked open, his fat body disappeared on the spot and at the next moment appeared in front of Zhu Yi. At the same time he also came in contact with that foul energy. Cold air coiled around Huang San's body, a lot of it was eroded by the foul energy, but he still suppressed the foul energy using his powerful mana. But with this tiny distraction the black-clothed man and the couple of Society of the Strong Gale cultivators had already seized the chance and ran into the tunnel, activating the transportation spell formation. The smile on Huang San's face vanished, lifting his hand he formed a spell sign. The cold air instantly surged, wanting to freeze even the transportation spell formation. The black-clothed man could also be considered very resolute. To fight for more time he threw away without any hesitation Zhu Yi whom they had worked hard to capture. But Huang San's cultivation level is too high, even though he first blocked the Aurus Core talisman and then saved Zhu Yi, in the end he still has the ability to intercept them. Too bad at the critical moment, that strange cloud of foul energy that rose up from the abyss helped out the black-clothed man. With this moment of delay Huang San was ultimately a step too slow. The transportation spell formation had already been activated. Under the influence of Huang San's mana, the space the spell formation opened up was twisted and crooked, even ripping in half the body of one of the Society of the Strong Gale cultivators, but in the end it did open up a void path, allowing the black-clothed man and the others to escape. Huang San said with a chuckle. "A couple of rats, though they are pretty slippery, but with my interference it's impossible for you guys to be transported to the predetermined location. You'll be lucky if you don't die in the void turbulence." Zhu Yi who was being grabbed by him in the hand did not say anything. Huang San stared at Zhu Yi, his eyes nearly unseeable from smiling. These couple of little rascals are pretty smart, finding this kind of place with impure spiritual energy. Regular people who enter are completely unable to search this place, but people from small areas have short insight. They don't know that under this kind of environment, Aurus Core stage cultivators can still locate their targets. Thank heavens we didn't let young Master EU fall into the hands of those rebels, or else the Marquis face would have been completely shamed by you. The other 7 Foundation establishment stage cultivators looked at Zhu Yi, their faces all revealing a playful smile like cats playing with a mouse. Zhu Yi felt helpless in his heart. With just a sweep of his eyes he recognized these cultivators. They are all cultivators attached to the first wife of the Marquis of Xuanji, Lady Xiao. Even Huang San before him, even though he is the Marquis of Xuanji's confidant, he is also Lady Xiao's trusted subordinate and regularly acts to deal with some shady matters for Lady Xiao. For example, right now, Zhu Yi believes that he definitely doesn't mind conveniently killing him off and then pushing the blame onto those people from the Society of the Strong Gale. This really is coming out of the lion's den and then entering into the wolf's lair. Sure enough, Huang San said smilingly. A living young Master Yi, no matter what, cannot land in the hands of scum and then be used by them to threaten the Marquis. The Marquis naturally will not compromise, but if news spreads then the Marquis face will also be shamed. But, if young Master Yi is unwilling to make his father the Marquis distressed due to filiality and ends his own life, refusing to yield even in death, then if that spreads out it will instead be a beautiful anecdote, right? While speaking, Huang San's beady eyes stared tightly at Zhu Yi, his entire body emitting a dangerous aura. Zhu Yi instantly felt his heart being clenched by an invisible hand that rubbed vigorously, all of the blood in his body gathered in his heart, wanting to blast apart his heart. Zhu Yi's pupils gradually dilated, his eyes started to lose their light. Am I about to die here? Chapter 43. Mdishu Sword Cultivator. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Zhu Yi's life force was gradually fading away. Huang San's fat face was still all happy and cheerful, a pair of beady eyes emitting a cruel light. He was in the middle of slowly torturing Zhu Yi when his expression slightly changed and he looked in the direction behind him. At the exit of a tunnel, there stood a young man in clothes as white as snow and wearing a green bamboo hat. The young man raised his head, revealing the face beneath the bamboo hat. His face could be considered regular, his skin was extremely white and he had a couple of white spots on his face. What attracted the most attention on this person's body is the sword at his waist. On the scabbard is carved a decorous and ancient landscape carving. All of the people on the scene besides Zhu Yi, who was already slowly losing his consciousness, when seeing that sword all of their pupils retracted. A person from the Mdishu sword sect. Even though he was raising his head looking at Huang San who was in the air, his expression was completely condescending. He spread his lips and grinned. Fatty, have you seen a young Taoist wearing a white robe and Taoist clothes? He has 2 children with him. The young man's tone of voice was frivolous and rude, even though Huang San still had a smile on his face, his eyes had already become cold. In front of the Marquis of Xuanji, Huang San is a lackey, but other people do not dare to belittle this close confidant of the Marquis of Xuanji. Don't mention the house of the Marquis of Xuanji, even in all of the Zhou dynasty, the majority of people all have to respectfully call him Mr. Huang San when facing him. The couple of Foundation establishment stage cultivators especially revealed an expression of discontent. One Foundation establishment stage cultivator who hadn't made a move before, thinking that it would be inexcusable if he didn't have any display, wanted to curry favor with Huang San, and so he spoke out reprimanding and saying, "This is Mr. Huang San of the house of the Marquis of Xuanji, behave yourself or else even the Mdishu sword sect won't be able to protect you." Hearing this, the bamboo hat young man only silently laughed, not even shifting his gaze over. But the sword at his waist suddenly unsheathed, turning into a flash of cold light and shooting towards the Foundation establishment stage cultivator. Huang San's face darkened. Impudent. The boundless cold air condensed, wanting to freeze this bamboo hat young man's sword. But when the bamboo hat young man's sword aura was about to come in contact with the cold air, it actually suddenly vanished. Huang San was slightly dazed, the next moment his expression drastically changed, shouting out, "Careful!" Before that Foundation establishment stage cultivator who was being attacked could even react, the sword aura that had originally disappeared suddenly reappeared in front of him only inches away. The sword aura pierced through his head and then flew back into the bamboo hat young man's scabbard. At this moment, this Foundation establishment stage cultivator finally reacted over. He opened his mouth wanting to speak, but no sounds came out. A bloodstain slowly surfaced between his two brows, suddenly exploding in the next moment, fresh blood sprayed in the air. "You've got big balls." Huang San's face was livid, swinging his arm and throwing Zhu Yi to a subordinate. Without the suppression of his mana, Zhu Yi finally regained consciousness, coughing out a big mouthful of congested blood. His face was ghostly pale as if he had been seriously ill. Yet, right now Huang Yan could no longer attend to him, his fat face was covered in frost. Cutting apart space, Empty Shoes Xiao's sword truly lives up to its reputation, but you threw your weight around in the wrong place. This is the Zhou dynasty, and the person you killed belongs to the house of the Marquis of Xuanji. The bamboo hat young man spread his lips and grinned. "I'm asking you if you've seen a young Daoist wearing a white robe and Daoist clothes bringing along children." Huang San laughed from extreme fury. The Mdishu sword sect really have become accustomed to arrogance, even daring to killing people from the house of the Marquis of Xuanji. Don't think of leaving the Zhou dynasty alive. The bamboo hat youth smiled saying. "Looks like you don't plan on answering my question, then there's no use in leaving you alive either." Finishing speaking, the sword aura once again left the scabbard. "Seal the world in ice, cover the world in frost." Huang San laughed angrily, his two hands forming a spell sign. Instantly, wind and snow surged in all of the underground palace, cold air condensed together, the air was a vast expanse of white haziness. As for the remaining Foundation establishment stage cultivators and Zhu Yi, even though Huang San's target wasn't them, just the ripples made them practically about to be frozen stiff. Not only were their bodies frozen, even their thinking became slow, their minds were unable to keep turning. This is the indication that even their souls are about to be frozen. To guard against the enemy's flying sword that can flash through the void, Huang San pushed his mana to the limit. Cold air was spread all over the surroundings of his body, no matter where the flying sword appears he can defend against it. It's true that Mdishu Xiao's sword is tricky and unpredictable, but it walks an unconventional path, its direct attack power is insufficient. As an Aurus Core sword cultivator it's naturally easy for him to kill a Foundation establishment stage, but if he wants to fight me then he's got the wrong idea. Huang San was in the middle of thinking when the bamboo hat young man's voice traveled over from within the cold air. "The Zhou dynasty. The Marquis of Xuanji. They are indeed very powerful, but the problem is that you are very weak. Making me unable to leave the Zhou dynasty alive, Zhu Hongwu can say this, but you can't. Not to mention even Zhu Hongyu, I will eventually surpass him one day." The cold air in the underground palace suddenly fluctuated violently, a domineering sword aura of cold steel burst through the encirclement of the cold air, cutting straight towards Huang San. This beam of sword aura was radiant and dazzling, a cold light flashed on the surface of the sword. Even every beam of light emitted by it was a beam of domineering, unstoppable sword aura. This sword was as if hundreds of thousands of sword aura gathered together, thousands of swords united as one, sweeping away all obstacles. Different from the Xiaozi sword that can shift through the void, this sword did not have fancy changes, only strength of the uttermost extreme. Huang San paled with shock. It's not the Xiaozi sword but the most fearsome and domineering Xiaoshang sword of the 6 meridian swords of Mdishu. He actually has simultaneous mastery of 2 types of swords. In a hurry Huang San condensed his mana, forming a mystic ice shield before him. This is Huang San's strongest defense technique, even when facing the Aurus Core talisman before he didn't use it, but right now he's using it without any hesitation. But everything was futile, against this bamboo hat young man's sky-rending sword, the boundless fog of cold air, dispersed. The mystic ice shield, broke. Watching the sword aura arrive in front of him, Huang San howled in unresignation. The iced age cannot be shaken. A layer of ice and snow appeared over Huang San. It was as if his entire body had been frozen into an ice cube, like million-year-old ice, hard, rigid and unbreakable. At the same time crystal clear and incredibly ancient and heavy. But, it was still useless. In Huang San's terrified gaze, the sword aura completely ignored his defense, cutting into his body like a knife through tofu, and then exploding in his body. Instantly, thousands of sword aura shot out from Huang San's body. Huang San's fat body was like a burst balloon, bursting apart in the air and turning into a cloud of blood. The sword aura that exploded outward did not stop, riddling the surrounding frozen stone walls with hundreds of holes and turning them into Swiss cheese. Zhu Yi blankly stared at the bamboo hat young man who put back his sword into his scabbard. The Foundation establishment stage cultivators of the House of the Marquis of Xuanji beside him were also completely dumbfounded. One sword, with just one sword this bamboo hat young man killed Huang San, who was also at the Aurus Core stage. Huang San still had a lot of cards up his sleeves that he didn't use, he even couldn't blow up his Aurus Core and was killed by the enemy. Zhu Yi suddenly had the impulse to laugh. Huang San's line of, as Aurus Core stage cultivators, there is still a separation of high and low, was still fresh in his ears, yet now he himself has become the best example for this line. Wait a sec, a young Taoist in white robes and wearing Taoist clothes, that's pretty similar to that person I met in the temple that day, could it be? A thought suddenly appeared in Zhu Yi's heart, he lowered his head not speaking. I wonder who's stronger, him or this Shu sword cultivator. The bamboo hat young man looked at them, spreading his lips and grinning. Remember my name, Lu Yen, I will be the person to kill Zhu Hongwu. Watching the dazed people, Lu Yang pulled down his bamboo hat, turning around and leaving. Boring, too boring, I think I'll continue looking for that young Taoist who humiliated the Blaze Sword sect. He licked his lips and chuckled saying. This person should be right in this underground palace, I hope he can bring me some entertainment. Lin Feng's current mood was extremely bad. Rumble. A blood river roared and surged before him, it was dark and gloomy, releasing a nauseating foul smell that assaulted the nose. Just inhaling this smell, Lin Feng could feel the circulation of his own mana become difficult and obscure. A moment ago, a strong mana shock suddenly exploded within the underground palace, as a result affecting the fluctuations in space. Lin Feng and company who were on their way got drawn into the spatial rift and were directly transported to the depths of the underground palace. Luckily the three people were not separated, but Lin Feng never thought they would actually be transported to the side of the Nether Blood River underground. Lin Feng stared at this water of utmost evil and foulness of this world with the urge to weep, while on the surface towards his two disciples he still has act like everything is within his control, calmly introducing this Nether Blood River to them and telling them to distance themselves from this water of utmost foulness. Hearing the dangers of the Nether Blood River, Xiao Yan and Xiao Budian were both pale in the face, closely following behind Lin Feng and avoiding the Blood River like the plague. While walking Lin Feng pondered. That black cloud flag magic item may be good, but it's not important. If I obtain it then that's my luck, if not then such is my life. Zhu Yi on the other hand, after spending this much effort I have to get my hands on this disciple. While thinking, Xiao Budian who was at the side suddenly tugged on Lin Feng's sleeve. Master, look over there. Lin Feng came out of his thoughts, looking over following the direction of Xiao Budian's finger. He saw a short-haired man in grey clothes covered in blood, meditating beside the Nether Blood River and looking like a complete mess. It was precisely monk Hui Ku from before. Hui Ku had a painful and gloomy expression, a golden Buddhist light flickered over his body. On the surface of the Buddhist light, green flames and red splatters of blood were intertwined together. Lin Feng understood what was happening. This monk, he was somehow tainted with the true Blood River water and is currently using the Buddhist light to protect his body and then using the green flames to expel the tainted blood. Seeing this scene, a warm smile like the spring sun habitually surfaced on Lin Feng's face. Chapter 44. Relentlessly beating the dog in the water. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Looking at Hui Ku, who was painstakingly expelling the tainted blood, Lin Feng's face released a dazzling smile. Relentlessly beating the dog in the water always puts people in a happy mood. His disciple clearly has the same thoughts as him. Xiao Yan stared at this scene, cracking his knuckles. This damned Baldy serves him right. Lin Feng said. Little Yan, hand your Thundershock staff over to Master. Xiao Yan took out the Thundershock staff and followed Lin Feng's words, handing it over. Lin Feng grabbed the Thundershock staff with one hand, his other hand quietly pulling out the golden paper recording the Kitagarbha Sutra, silently feeling the mana fluctuations that occasionally pulsated from within these two items. Before, when he refined the Thundershock staff, he already felt an abnormality with the golden paper, but he didn't pay much attention to it. Now, after close examination, Lin Feng could confirm that there is a faint resonance between the two items. Lin Feng thought about it for a moment, a plan already appearing in his heart. He called over his two disciples, still handing the Thundershock staff over to Xiao Yan and giving the golden paper Xiao Budian. Today I'll give you guys an exercise. Shortly afterwards Master will only hold down the line and will not easily act out. Lin Feng nonchalantly said. Xiao Yan and Xiao Budian looked at each other, simultaneously swallowing their saliva. Xiao Yan said hesitantly. Master, are you telling just us two to go face that damned Baldy? He may be a dog in the water right now, but at any rate he's still a Foundation establishment stage cultivator. Not mentioning any of this, the key point is that magic item of his, 100 of me isn't even enough. Xiao Budian's eyes turned, looking at the golden paper in his hands. Master, you have a plan, right? Lin Feng felt a bit guilty. A plan is in the end just a plan, moreover it's a plan built upon his speculations, he doesn't dare to promise that it'll work. But on the surface Lin Feng still maintained the appearance that everything was within his control, even slanting his eyes towards Xiao Yan. Learn from your junior apprentice. Brother, would Master let you guys do something without any confidence? Xiao Yan twitched his lips, not speaking. Lin Feng grinned, saying. You guys don't need to worry about that monk. The test Master is giving to you guys is to break his 24 heaven Arhat formation. The things I gave to you guys are the items to break the formation. Shortly afterwards follow my instructions and breaking the formation will be easy as pie. The two disciples all became energized, cracking their knuckles and staring at Hui Ku, who was in the distance. In Tianjing City they were miserably bullied by Hui Qi. If the city patrol squad hadn't arrived, right now they would have already been captured by Hui Ku. Xiao Yan especially felt retrospective fear. This big monk is even able to lay his hands on the sariras of the elders of his sect. At that time who knows what he would do to him to get the art of Akala from him. A while ago he didn't even forget to release a snake to capture him while he was in the middle of an intense fight. If this person doesn't die, Xiao Yan's mind will not be at ease. Lin Feng calculated things for a moment longer. After planning everything out properly he then brought along Xiao Yan and Xiao Budian and walked out. Hui Ku was in the middle of being painfully tormented by the tainted blood. He could also be considered unfortunate. After finally arriving at the underground palace, he happened upon the transportation of the people of the Society of the Strong Gale not too long after entering. Huang San acted out to obstruct them, in the end messing up the void and causing the space of the entire underground palace to become very chaotic. The space Hui Ku was transported to was directly above the Nether Blood River, falling straight down towards the surging tainted blood water. The Great Thunder Monastery is one of the three great holy lands of the past. Even though it's been destroyed now, disciples who originate from there all have extraordinary knowledge. Hui Ku recognized the Nether Blood River at the first moment and moaned in his heart. He didn't even dare to take out the sariras. In spite of these sariras all being refined from the bones of past great Buddhist cultivators, once they are contaminated with the tainted blood they will instantly lose all of their spirituality and become useless items. After spending an enormous amount of effort, Hui Ku managed to not fall directly into the blood river, but his body was still stained with a lot of blood water. The majority of his Buddhist mana was instantly tainted and he could only strugglingly hang on. Whilst using the Buddhist light to protect himself to prevent the tainted blood from continuing to contaminate his body, he hastily used the Buddhist fire cultivated by the art of Akela to incinerate and clear the tainted blood, but progress was very slow. Hui Ku felt agitated in his heart. If I had the complete art of Akela and cultivated the true Fury Akela flames, then I could definitely deal with this tainted blood. The Fury Akela flames may not be one of the 7 great absolute flames, but the blood river here is also just a tiny branch of the nether blood sea. It is not the purest absolute blood river water. Buddha, O Buddha, I devote myself to the Buddhist ways, why have I suffered such a disaster? Could it be that Buddha is also blaming me for refining the sariras of my elders? Hui Ku roared in his heart. Buddha would not. The reason I did so is also to spread the glory of Buddhism. Even if those elders cannot forgive me, Buddha will definitely understand me. Thinking of the Thundershock staff that he lost and the spiritual python that he worked hard to raise for so many years being killed in the end, Hui Ku became even more furious. He swore in his heart to capture Xiao Yan and turn into ashes the person who killed his spiritual pet and robbed his magic item. Hui Ku was in the middle of sulking when a young Taoist in white robes wearing Taoist clothes suddenly appeared before him. Afterwards, Hui Ku saw Xiao Yan who was behind that young Taoist. Lin Feng looked at Hui Ku who was staring at him in anger, saying blandly, "What are you looking at, you big monk? It was destined for you to suffer today's tribulation when you troubled my disciple that day." Hui Ku let out a snort. "You are that kid's master, his art of Akela was taught by you. This is the secret Tao technique of the Great Thunder Monastery, from where did you learn it? Quickly return it to me or else don't blame me for what happens next." Lin Feng slowly shook his head. "You are indeed a discourteous monk, it is time to teach you a lesson today." Hui Ku's face was cloudy, because he discovered that he could not see through Lin Feng's cultivation level. Based on Hui Ku's knowledge, this means that Lin Feng's level is even above his. His thoughts reaching here, Hui Ku did not dare to be negligent, shouting out in a low voice. "You Taoist, I will send you back into the cycle of reincarnation right now." He released his trump card at the get-go, whipping his hands and throwing out 24 sariras which shone brightly in this dark and gloomy underworld. 24 Heaven Arhat Formation, open. Where Buddhist light flashed, Buddhist chanting could be heard without end and the fragrance of sandalwood permeated the air. At the side of the Nether Blood River, Buddhist light covered the surrounding 330-meter radius, enveloping Lin Feng and Co. along with Hui Ku within it. In the Buddhist light human shadows overlapped, 24 golden arhats over 10 feet tall slowly walked out, appearing in the vision of Lin Feng and company. The powerful mana of 24 foundation establishment stage cultivators is truly as deep as the sea, pressuring over together it made Lin Feng virtually have the impulse to raise his hands and surrender. Lin Feng did his best to pull himself together, looking towards his 2 disciples beside him while still maintaining a calm look. "You guys are up." Xiao Yan and Xiao Budian nodded their heads together, charging into the Buddhist light. With the protection of the Thundershock staff and the golden paper, the mental pressure brought by the golden arhats had little effect on them. Seeing this, Lin Feng knew that his guess was most likely correct. Between magic items of Buddhist Tao techniques, even if they are not of the same type, a lot of them will resonate with each other. To a certain degree this can achieve the effect of cancelling each other out. Especially those 24 golden arhats, they actually don't have their own thoughts. They are only acting based on their instincts under the control of Hui Ku, but right now Hui Ku is occupied with defending against the contamination of the tainted blood, and this spell formation actually has a trend of treating Xiao Yan and Xiao Budian as part of itself. Even though Hui Ku was concentrating on withstanding the contamination of the tainted blood, he still gave a command to the golden arhats. Instantly, 24 10-foot-tall giants rushed towards Lin Feng in large strides. Not mentioning that they all possessed the mana levels of foundation establishment stage cultivators, just their height and bulk was enough to make people scared. One golden Arhat arrived first, his large hand directly shadowing over Lin Feng's head. Vigorous mana pressed downward, Lin Feng felt like the space around him had been completely sealed and that even the air had become frozen. A strong wind rushed at his face, but not even a speck of the dust on the ground could fly upwards, everything was being tightly suppressed. Lin Feng inhaled a deep breath, his 2 feet stepping on the ground and all of his mana rapidly circulating through his body. The Dao technique he was using was neither the Nine Heavens Thunder technique nor the art of Akala and was especially not the Blue Oceanic River technique. The Dao technique Lin Feng was using was precisely the Kitagarbha Sutra that originally should have belonged to Zhu Yi. He didn't even pass over the Blue Oceanic River technique, of course he wouldn't let go of this first-class Buddhist Dao technique on the same level as the art of Akala. Even though he has not successfully cultivated the peerless ability of the gilded Kitagarbha body, right now Lin Feng has already obtained a bit of the essence of tolerant and still as the earth and silent and deep as a scripture. Right now Lin Feng was like the vast and boundless earth, silently bearing all within the world, no matter how wild, overbearing and arrogant you are, I stand erect and unshakable. The golden Arhat's movements noticeably slowed down for a moment. He is made from a great Buddhist cultivator Sarira, even though he no longer possesses thought and doesn't have a consciousness, some scattered memories rooted deep in his soul still exist. He sensed his attack target seemed to be a fellow Buddhist, this made him very resistant. Hui Ku also sensed it within his heart, instantly becoming stunned. This is the Kitagarbha Sutra. Why does a Taoist know so many of our great Thunder Monastery's secret Tao techniques? Could it be that he is actually also a Buddhist follower and pretending to dress as a Taoist to fool people's eyes? While he was in the middle of being confused, another response traveled over, someone was attempting to collect one of the Sariras acting as one of the eyes of the formation. TL. Does that make sense to you guys, the eye of the formation? Hui Ku instantly flew into a rage. 2 little bastards, you guys have some big balls. Chapter 45. I was waiting for you, Baldy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hui Ku manipulated the golden Arhat to attack Lin Feng. Responding using the Kitagarbha Sutra, Lin Feng temporarily withstood the attack of the golden Arhat. Even though he was surprised about Lin Feng actually knowing the Kitagarbha Sutra, Hui Ku's hanging heart was put greatly at ease because he sensed that Lin Feng's force of resistance was not strong. Don't mention Aura's core stage, he wasn't even foundation establishment stage. Hui Ku laughed coldly. With just this bit of skill you think you have the rights to parade around in front of me. If I'd known earlier that you were just a complete sham I could send you back into the cycle of reincarnation even without using the spell formation. Lin Feng glanced at him, his tone of voice indifferent and saying. You are nothing but the frog at the bottom of the well, guarding the bones of your predecessors and talking nonsense here. TL. The frog at the bottom of the well, the frog looks up from the well, sees the limited view of the sky from the well and thinks that the world is all that it sees, I think you guys get the rest. Hui Ku's expression turned blue. Damn Taoist, do you dare to say that again? Lin Feng calmly shook his head. This spell formation is the source of your arrogance. Today I will eradicate this illusion of yours and have you recognize your true colors. Hui Ku laughed from extreme anger. I'll squash you to death. Before that, you can block 1 Arhat, but... Bringing his 2 hands together, Hui Ku's tone of voice was dark. But, can you still block 24? Under the spur of his thoughts, the 24 golden Arhats surrounded Lin Feng together. Every Arhat is dozens of meters tall, when they came up together it instantly created a type of pressure that blotted out the sky and wanted to destroy everything. Hui Ku stared at Lin Feng and said word by word. Today I will send you to the underworld, the art of Akala and the Kitagarbha Sutra, you've got to obediently spit it all out for me. These are all secret techniques of the Great Thunder Monastery, how can I allow a demon's pawn such as yourself to make it your own? Lin Feng lifted his head with a leisurely expression and looked at the golden Arhats who surrounded him. In terms of height and body size, it was like he had arrived at the land of the giants. Nothing but a tiny spell formation, I don't even need to personally do anything, my 2 disciples are more than sufficient. Hui Ku was stunned for a moment. Suddenly he sensed that within the formation there was someone attempting to collect one of the Sarairas acting as the eye of the formation. Hui Ku instantly flew into a rage. 2 little bastards, you've got big balls. After Lin Feng attracted the majority of Hui Ku's attention, Xiao Yan and Xiao Budian were neglected by the big monk. From Hui Ku's point of view, one of them is Qi disciple level 6, the other is Qi disciple level 7, just the oppression the Buddhist light formation has on the mind is enough to make the 2 little guys collapse. But the Thundershock staff and golden paper came into play. Not only did they help the 2 people withstand the pressure from the formation, they even made the formation develop a misjudgment and mistaken them as one of its own. Over here. Xiao Yan took the lead and walked over to a corner of the spell formation. Beneath the cloud of light. Golden mist, a dot of light shone on the ground. Looking closely it was precisely a Saraira. Xiao Budian cheered aloud. Just as Master said. Before taking action, Lin Feng already told them that this 24 Heaven Arhat formation is aboveboard and straightforward, it only has the effects of trapping and killing the enemy, the spell formation itself does not possess any deceptive properties. When Hui Ku sets up the formation he spreads the Sarairas. After the Sarairas land on the ground according to a certain pattern, their position does not change. Once you remember the locations of these Sarairas, you will be able to find them after entering the spell formation. It's just that this spell formation's attack strength is too powerful, materializing 24 golden arhats who all possess the strength of foundation establishment stage cultivators. Once the enemy enters the formation they will be surrounded and attacked, they simply don't have the energy to search for and destroy the Sarairas acting as the eye of the formation. Right now Lin Feng has attracted the attention of the spell formation and Hui Ku, Xiao Yan and Xiao Budian instantly found the opportunity to go look for the Sarairas. The Sarairas do not stay unmoving when they land on the ground, instead they embed themselves deep into the earth, emitting a faint golden glow and dyeing the surrounding ground in gold. Xiao Yan lifted his leg and stomped on the golden ground, releasing a low grunt. Based on the counter force, this golden ground is even harder than steel, clearly it has been affected by the mana within the Saraira. Senior and junior apprentice. Brother looked at each other, Xiao Yan nodded his head. Do it, I'll protect you. Xiao Budian took out the golden paper and approached the Saraira. When he just got close, the Saraira instantly released a wave of Buddhist chanting, as if a warning. Oh man, this is something good. Xiao Budian was delighted, revealing 2 shiny little canine teeth. He shook the golden paper in his hands and placed it over the Saraira. Upon contact with the Saraira instantly calmed down, but Xiao Budian's following movements were pretty rough. Spreading his fingers he clawed at the ground, forcefully digging out a hole in the ground. Xiao Budian's 2 hands applied strength together, digging out a piece of earth like pulling out a carrot. Hitting it with his hand, the earth that was still as hard as steel and emitting a faint golden flow was instantly destroyed by Xiao Budian, only leaving behind the perfectly intact Saraira quietly landing in the middle of the golden paper. Seeing this scene Xiao Yan's lips twitched. The entire process was like a harmless-looking man using the most gentle, most polite and most harmless method to trick a chick into drinking a spiked drink. After knocking her out he then immediately revealed his true colors and forcefully executed the girl on the spot. TL. I'll just leave it at that, interpret it however you want. You guys have big balls. Hui Ku's furious cries traveled into their ears, afterwards a giant golden arhat suddenly charged to the front of them, his fist punching straight down towards Xiao Budian's head. Xiao Yan came back to his senses, immediately using the method Lin Feng taught him, bringing up the Thundershock staff and attacking the golden arhat. When the golden arhat's fist came in contact with the Thundershock staff, a wave of dazzling Buddhist light burst forth from the Thundershock staff. In the circulation of the Buddhist light the golden arhat's movements instantly slowed down, retracting half of the strength that he released. The remaining half of his strength was unable to do anything about the Thundershock staff. The powerful defense ability exhibited by this Buddhist magic item directly led astray the fist the size of a house. At this time Xiao Budian had already completely wrapped the Saraira in the golden paper. The golden paper isolated the Saraira's Buddhist light, causing the mana within the Saraira to be sealed off, not the slightest bit of it could leak out. Hui Ku was dumbfounded. This 24 heaven arhat formation of his is incredibly powerful. If you had to speak of its weaknesses, besides the spell formation's position being immovable, it is that as the eyes of the formation, the 24 Sarairas are all indispensable. As long as one Saraira is missing, the spell formation will collapse. The Buddhist chanting vanished from the ears and the sandalwood fragrance slowly dispersed, the golden cloud of light also scattered and disappeared. The 24 heaven arhat formation that once beat the snot out of Mr. Vulture and company, these three foundation establishment stage cultivators, was officially broken. Xiao Yan and Xiao Budian were a bit dazed. They didn't think that things would actually be just as Lin Feng said and that they would so easily break the formation. Lin Feng on the other hand secretly breathed out a sigh of relief. His two disciples didn't know that he was actually walking on tightropes again, it's just that this time he once again successfully walked across. His success could not do without numerous calculations and a large amount of luck. Firstly, Hui Ku himself was pinned down by the tainted blood. A lot of his attention was placed on clearing up the tainted blood and he didn't have a lot of energy to control the 24 heaven arhat formation. Otherwise, he would have been able to discover Xiao Yan's and Xiao Budian's little movements at the first moment and stop them on time. Secondly, due to the hidden benefit of the system, Hui Ku was unable to see through Lin Feng's true cultivation level and thus subconsciously treated him as a formidable enemy. Not mentioning that he attracted all of Hui Ku's attention, Hui Ku also did not dare to launch a full-out assault at the beginning and only used one golden arhat to test him. This allowed Lin Feng to successfully pass by this most important first attack wave and win time for Xiao Yan and Xiao Budian. And then, just as Lin Feng suspected, it is indeed easy for Buddhist magic items like the Thundershock staff and golden paper to resonate with each other. Under the circumstance that Hui Ku, this manipulator, did not interfere, they successfully withstood the attacks of the spell formation and collected the Saraira. Lastly and most importantly is still that Hui Ku was being attacked by the tainted blood and his own strength was greatly reduced. Otherwise, even if they broke his formation, with Hui Ku's foundation establishment stage level, Lin Feng still wouldn't be his match. These are all elements towards Lin Feng's victory. If any of them were missing, the plan would not have been able to be completed. Of course, if any of these elements were missing, Lin Feng would definitely continue to patiently wait for an opportunity and would not actively seek out Hui Ku. If he dares to make a move, then he has the confidence to succeed. Lin Feng turned his head and said towards Xiao Budian and Xiao Yan. Collect the other Sarairas too. Xiao Budian instantly ran around in joy, going around everywhere and practically treating this place like his own vegetable garden, continuing the happy task of harvesting carrots. He rapidly collected the remaining 24 Sarairas and handed them over to Lin Feng together with the first one. Seeing his lifeblood fall in Lin Feng's hands, Hui Ku's eyes gradually turned blood-red. He released a wild cry. Damned Taoist! Under his extreme fury, his own mana instantly became unstable. The green fire was unable to suppress the tainted blood and his Buddhist light barrier was instantly breached by the tainted blood. Lin Feng stared at Hui Ku, whose entire body was stained with the tainted blood, and secretly made a scissor hand. The reason he had Xiao Budian collect the other Sarairas was to purposely anger Hui Ku. If this big monk is directly dissolved by the tainted blood, then that would be the best. But it was destined for Hui Ku to disappoint him. This feverish big monk suddenly calmed down, retracting all of the mana protecting his body and letting the tainted blood spread across his entire body, wildly contaminating and eroding the mana that he painstakingly cultivated for so many years. But Hui Ku was unmoved by it, only coldly staring at Lin Feng. At this moment, the sentiments of madness, irritation and anger all disappeared from Hui Ku, only cold murderous intent remained in his eyes. Lin Feng called out crap in his heart. Sure enough, Hui Ku said coldly. I am destined to fall into hell, but before I go I will drag you this spawn of evil down with me. The next moment, alarming mana fluctuations burst forth from Hui Ku's body. A miniature black hole actually appeared above his head, everything around the black hole was sucked within it. Countless amounts of dust and gravel, even the tainted blood in the nether blood river beside Hui Ku all flew into the air and towards the black hole. Under the huge suction even Xiao Yan and Xiao Budian were unable to stand on the ground. Their feet left the ground and they were actually about to be directly sucked into the black hole. Hui Ku roared wildly. Demon's Pawn, take my final attack, bliss of samsara. Let us enter into the gates of reincarnation and go down to hell together. Before he finished speaking, a beam of pure white lightning of peerless radiance and unmatched violence had already arrived before him, turning into a cloud of blood Hui Ku who had already exhausted all of his mana. Northern Aurora Mystic Light. Lin Feng extended his right arm, his fingers making a gun-shot movement, he then pulled it to his lips and lightly blew. I was waiting for you, damned Baldy. Chapter 46. The source of the blood river. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hui Ku lost the 24 Heaven Arhat formation and was also being attacked by the most evil and foul tainted blood in the world. Under his extreme fury he actually took the approach of taking everybody down with him, using the Buddhist secret technique bliss of samsara and wanting drag Lin Feng down with him. Lin Feng was already on guard, he was paying attention to Hui Ku's movements the whole time. Seeing this big monk actually disregard the attack of the tainted blood and retract his protective mana, he immediately knew that shit was about to hit the fan. The Northern Aurora sword immediately came out and before Hui Ku's spell could be fully unleashed, an arc of overpowering lightning struck this big monk to death a step ahead. Hui Ku had died and the black hole above his head instantly went out of control, becoming chaotic. Lin Feng sensed the spiritual energy in the underground palace suddenly fall into disorder, his expression couldn't help but slightly pale and he shouted towards his two disciples. Be careful. Before his voice had even died away, the black hole suddenly exploded, mixing together with the tainted spiritual energy in the underground palace and actually creating an effect similar to a transportation spell formation, shifting space. Under the effect of the void turbulence, Lin Feng's head became groggy, a strong light flickered before his eyes and the scenery around him constantly changed. In just 1 second of time, the scenery in Lin Feng's vision had already changed a number of times. As if an incredibly long period of time had passed by, but in actuality it had only been a couple of seconds, Lin Feng who was dizzy in the head heavily fell to the ground. Lin Feng shook his head, only after a long while did his head become clear. Lifting his head and looking around, he discovered that he was inside a tunnel. He didn't know how far he was transported, but he could not hear the roaring and surging of the Nether Blood River, presumably he's been transported a long distance. His two disciples also aren't by his side, looks like they were sent to a different place in the void turbulence. Lin Feng laughed helplessly. Now there's trouble. But it's not like everything was bad. Lin Feng weighted the storage bag in his hand, his face revealing a smile. In the chaos he nimbly grabbed Hui Ku's storage bag, that big monk stash has now all become his spoils of victory. Of course, the most important loot is still those 24 Sariras. Lin Feng found the 24 Heaven Arhat formations formation diagram within Hui Ku's storage bag. It was a thick book with a lot illustrations, the illustrations on the first few pages have many alterations. Presumably Hui Ku himself also regularly thought about how to polish the formation and was constantly improving the formation for it to have its current power. This formation diagram matched with the 24 Sariras can set up the 24 Heaven Arhat formation. But it requires Lin Feng to refine these Sariras, he has to get rid of Hui Ku's mana markings within them and add in his own for him to be able to have perfect command of them. Besides the formation diagram, the storage bag also has the art of Akela that Hui Ku practiced. Lin Feng took a look at it. Sure enough, it was the entire scripture minus the general outline at the beginning. Lin Feng laughed. The upper half of the scripture he already has, and the part of Hui Ku's here is a complete version of the art of Akela. As for the other things like cultivation pills and such, even though they are what Lin Feng needs, there wasn't anything particularly good. After all, the Great Thunder Monastery has already been destroyed for 20 years, even if Hui Ku brought out some valuable pills from the monastery he would have already eaten them. The only thing worth noting was that Hui Ku actually had 2 pill recipes. One is the Greater Thunder Revival Pill. It is the Great Thunder Monastery's world-famous healing panacea. It has a miraculous effect in healing the damaged body, reviving the dead and regenerating bones. While the other one made Lin Feng's mouth water, the Barrier-Breaking Pill. It's designed to help cultivators overcome their cultivation bottlenecks and the bottleneck of a minor stage. After using the Barrier-Breaking Pill, one will immediately advance to the next minor stage. Using this pill can also greatly enhance the success rate of advancing to Foundation Establishment from Chi Disciple or to Aurus Core from Foundation Establishment. But the materials required to create these 2 pills are all very rare and the success rate is not high. Lin Feng himself, 1 doesn't know alchemy and 2 doesn't have materials, he can only give them a wistful look. I'll put them away first, later I'll give them to Xiao Yan, that kid, to slowly figure things out. The system says that he has a gift for alchemy, presumably it's not a lie. Lin Feng put away the pill recipes. I've got to hurry up and find a way out first and meet up with those 2 little guys and then go look for Zhu Yi. Zhu Yi, sigh, wonder how that kid's doing. Lin Feng didn't think that a bullshit matter like a spatial shift could actually happen in the underground palace. In the end, right now he still hasn't gotten his 3rd disciple yet and has instead even become separated from the 2 he already has. The fuck, could it be working hard for 50 years and then returning to before the liberation in a night? TL. Everything for naught. How can I leave this place? Lin Feng was troubled in his heart when the system notification sound suddenly rose up in his mind. Host has gotten close to the side quest item, the Black Cloud Flag. Are you kidding? Lin Feng was stunned. This really is a serendipitous accident. Before he didn't even give the side quest any thought. Who knew that 2 consecutive spatial transportations in the underground palace actually sent him in front of the Black Cloud Flag? This Black Cloud Flag is Daoist Master He Yun's soul-bound magic item. Daoist Master He Yun is also the person who created the Black Cloud Underground Palace. A thought suddenly appeared in his heart and he hastily rechecked the quest. Due to Lin Feng already being near the Black Cloud Flag right now, the quest description has also added a description of the Black Cloud Flag. Black Cloud Flag, Daoist Master He Yun's soul-bound magic item, refined using Daoist Master He Yun's famous spell, Great Heaven's Shift. It can shift through space within a short distance, combining attack and defense in one. It can also carry people to fly and has endless uses. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. So that's how it is. The reason there's so many sudden spatial shifts in this underground palace is probably related to this Black Cloud Flag. If I can obtain the Black Cloud Flag, then leaving this underground palace will definitely be as easy as pie, and it might also be able to help me find those 3 little guys. Even though he had the way out, Lin Feng was even more careful. The Black Cloud Flag is nearby, which means that the Nether Blood River is also nearby. Moreover, it's also the source of the Nether Blood River in this underground palace. Sure enough, after Lin Feng continued walking forward for a while, he heard the surging sound of water travel over from the distance. After taking a couple of turns, the tunnel reached its end. Exiting the tunnel, what appeared in front of Lin Feng was a giant underground lake. But within this lake is not water but absolute blood river water. The foul, nauseating smell that assailed the nose rushed at his face, virtually knocking Lin Feng unconscious. In the air above the lake there was a pitch black fissure, that is the spatial rift. Space is like drawing paper, everything else is scenery in the drawing, and this fissure is like a hole that was ripped in the drawing paper. From the fissure, foul tainted blood constantly flowed out from it, landing in the lake below like a waterfall. Above the lake permeated this thick, dark red blood aura. Standing there and having yet to truly come in contact with the tainted blood, Lin Feng could already feel his mana stagnate. Just that thick blood aura could virtually already taint Lin Feng's mana. Lin Feng looked towards the blood lake beneath his feet, thinking that there is a passageway beneath the blood lake and that the source of the nether blood river he saw when he encountered Hui Ku should be this place. It's just that he doesn't know to where that blood river flows. The system notification rose up once again. This time it directly pointed out to Lin Feng the location of the black cloud flag. Lin Feng pulled himself together and prepared to first collect this magic item and then think about his next step. So bored. Crash. Lin Feng was just about to go collect the black cloud flag when an unexpected voice suddenly sounded beside his ear. Closely afterwards there was also the sound of jadeware smashing on the ground. Lin Feng was startled. There was actually someone here and he was completely unaware of it before. Following the sound and looking over, he saw a white-clothed young man wearing a green bamboo hat on his head leaning against a giant rock and holding an intricate white jade cup. The expression on his face was looking at Lin Feng with a faint smile. Lin Feng's pupils retracted. Not far away from the bamboo hat young man was a pile of white jade fragments piled up on the ground like a tiny mountain. Between the crystal clear fragments there was also a decent amount of crimson red wine silently flowing. Looking at it actually looked a bit similar to the tainted blood in the nether blood river. The bamboo hat young man raised the white jade cup in his hand. He only took a sip of the delicious grape wine in the cup and then smacked his lips, sighing towards the sky. It's so boring. Crash. Before his voice had faded away, the white jade cup along with the wine in the cup fell to the ground together, becoming a member of that pile of broken fragments. The corner of Lin Feng's eyes twitched. Right now this pile of pure white jade fragments and the wine that flowed between it was like a massive mountain in his eyes. A mountain built from fresh gurgling blood and grim white bones. The bamboo hat young man flipped his palm. An identical jade white cup appeared in his palm and the cup was already filled with wine. He shook the wine cup in his hand, twisting his head and looking towards Lin Feng. He spread his lips and grinned. A couple of white spots on his face jumped together. Looking at your appearance, you are that Taoist who gave the Blaze Sword sect a bad time. You don't look like much. Chapter 47. Watching How You Die. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. This bamboo hat young man's body was emitting an aura that Lin Feng felt was extremely dangerous. At the bottom of his heart there was a voice that yelled without stop. Run! 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 This was entirely a biological instinct, an instinctual warning when encountering something that may cause himself to die. Lin Feng had to constantly constrain himself to ensure that his body stood on the spot unmoving and not immediately turning around to run. The bamboo hat young man's completely unmasked mana fluctuations told Lin Feng that the person he is facing is an Aurus Core stage cultivator. Moreover, it's an Aurus Core stage cultivator even more powerful than Blaze Sword Sect's elderly that he met before. Lin Feng laughed helplessly in his heart. Even though I act like an expert in front of my disciples, that's because I have no choice. In the end I'm still just a Chi disciple stage small fry. Don't keep sending this kind of Aurus Core stage opponent over, I really can't afford it. The flying swords of Mbishu Sword Sect disciples are all different, but the carvings on their scabbards are all the same landscape design. It is the same as the Blaze Sword Sect's flame robes and is a token of identity known by the world. Lin Feng naturally also recognized it at a glance, thinking in consolement. Yan Mingyue, Hui Ku plus this guy in front of me, who'd have thought that in a few short months of time I encountered one of each of the disciples of the three great holy lands. Even though his calves were already spasming a bit, Lin Feng still secretly held the Saraira in his palms, preparing at any time to fight for his life. Wanting him to fold his arms and await death is not possible. Lu Yang downed all of the wine in the white jade cup and jumped up from the giant rock. He tilted his head looking at Lin Feng. Didn't they say you're also with a little kid, where is he? Originally Lin Feng was prepared to launch the 24 Heaven Arhat formation, but upon hearing Lu Yang's question a thought suddenly appeared in his heart and he had an even better idea. After calculating the details in his heart and feeling that there weren't any major holes, Lin Feng started his performance. Little kid, what little kid? Lin Feng revealed a humble expression of reverence, his face puzzled. Lu Yang frowned. Stop your charade, I'm talking about that 3 to 4-year-old child you had with you when you were fighting with the people of the Blaze Sword sect. Lin Feng's expression was astounded. I may have little experience, but I've still heard of the name of the Blaze Sword sect. It is a member of the Nine Heavens Sword Alliance and is one of the several well-known sword sect. How would a small wandering cultivator like me dare to provoke them? Hearing this, Lu Yen suspiciously examined him. But this is the right clothing, there's no mistake. Lin Feng laughed helplessly. I am only a Qi disciple level 10 cultivator, how would I have the balls to provoke the Blaze Sword sect? While speaking, Lin Feng released his own mana fluctuating, opening his hands and using his mana to crush a rock. Lu Yang naturally doesn't care about this level of mana, but he can clearly determine the depths of Lin Feng's cultivation level. But he was still puzzled in his heart. If you don't do anything then I actually can't see through your cultivation level. Lin Feng produced a forced smile saying. I inadvertently obtained a small item that can hide my cultivation level. He swallowed his saliva, taking out a ribbon and handing it over to Lu Yen with a fearful and ingratiating smile. Please take a look. The ribbon was just a regular item, but after Lin Feng took out the ribbon he actively released his own mana, causing Lu Yen to think that the reason he couldn't see through his level was indeed because of the ribbon. Lu Yang took over the ribbon but couldn't sense any spell formations operating within. He tried it out himself and was also unable to hide his cultivation level. He suspiciously looked towards Lin Feng, but right now Lin Feng no longer had any secrets in front of him, he was clearly at Qi disciple level 10. Why does it have no effect when I use it? Lu Yang asked. L.C. Maybe it's because my level is low. Lin Feng said in embarrassment. It's just a small trick, it's not worth your time, O great immortal of the Mdishu sword sect. Lu Yang smiled. You know I'm from the Mdishu sword sect. Lin Feng cast a glance towards the scabbard at Lu Yang's waist, saying with a smile. The Mdishu sword sect, the #1 holy land in the world of the way of the sword, its name reverberates like thunder. No matter how ignorant I am I naturally also know of it. Lu Yang curled his lips, completely losing interest in Lin Feng. Boring. He paused for a moment and then asked. Have you seen a young Taoist dressed just like you with a 3 to 4-year-old child in this underground palace? Lin Feng blankly shook his head. Lu Yang then asked. Then what did you come to this underground palace for? I came out to hone myself and accidentally entered this underground palace. Lin Feng answered a bit sheepishly. Lu Yang laughed coldly, boundless killing interest spread outward, prickling Lin Feng and making him tremble. Calm your anger please, calm your anger. Lin Feng hurriedly said. In truth I heard that there is a treasure at the bottom of this underground palace, so I came to try my luck and see if I was lucky. Treasure. Lu Yen was a bit surprised. What treasure? Lin Feng answered honestly. Legends say that 1,000 years ago this place was the wandering cultivator Taoist Master He Yun's cultivation abode. After Taoist Master He Yun perished in the Blood River his soul-bound magic item the Black Cloud flag still remained in this cultivation abode. Lu Yang curled his lips. Taoist Master He Yun. Never heard of him, he seems to be an Aurus Core stage cultivator. An Aurus Core stage magic item, it's not a big deal. Lin Feng smiled apologetically. You have great power, naturally you do not care about it. But I heard that this black cloud flag has the effect to shift through the void, presumably it is very rare, thus I came to try my luck. Shift through the void. Lu Yang became interested. Spells and magic items that can shift through the void are all very rare and have endless uses, even he felt moved about it. Lu Yang attentively sensed the surroundings for a moment and then frowned, saying, I can't sense that there is a treasure here. Lin Feng secretly glanced at the blood lake at the side and stammered about, unable to speak. Lu Yang noticed his movement and laughed. It's in this nether blood river. Separated by the absolute blood water, it is indeed not easy for my mana to probe it, but... He slanted his eyes and looked at Lin Feng with a faint smile. How do I know you're not tricking me? How about this, you go down first to find it for me. I originally had intentions of seeking treasure, but when I found out that the treasure was actually within the nether blood river I fell into a dilemma. I am unwilling to leave, but I also don't dare to go down. Lin Feng hurriedly shook his head. With my insignificant cultivation level, how can I bear the erosion of the tainted blood in the nether blood river? I'll turn into pulp in a mere matter of seconds. His face was filled with terror, looking at the nether blood river below like avoiding the plague. Seemingly to distance himself as far as possible from the tainted blood, Lin Feng climbed on top of a stone beam protruding from the cliff above the blood lake, looking at the turbulent nether blood river below him with a face of horror. Lu Yang laughed loudly. This absolute blood river water is the most evil and foulest thing in the world and can taint all mana and magic items. It is indeed very sinister, but it cannot trouble me. Even if the treasure really is below the nether blood river, it doesn't matter, instead it can make me not that bored, but... Lu Yang looked towards Lin Feng with a cold laugh. There better really be a treasure below here, or else I'll make you regret coming out of your mother's womb. On the surface Lin Feng revealed an expression of heartfelt admiration. Only the capable can obtain treasures, you obtaining the treasure is the true mandate of heaven. That I can watch at the side is already my greatest fortune. Lu Yang laughed complacently, Lin Feng smiled with him at the side while laughing coldly in his heart. I am watching at the side, but I'm watching how you die. Chapter 48. You're a good person. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the sound of laughter, Lu Yang waved his hands and 9 blood.red banners flew out. Lin Feng's eyes watched those 9 blood.red banners fly into the air and then land above the blood lake. The blood.red banners and the tainted blood in the blood lake were actually calling and responding to each other. The tainted blood in the blood lake slowly rose and fell like it was alive, exhaling and inhaling and harboring a fascinating rhythm. And in the air those blood.red banners flapped in the air without any wind, swirling and fluttering. Their rhythm was actually in unison with the tainted blood in the lake, both sides resonated with each other and they pulsated even more strongly and clearly. These 9 blood.red banners were actually refined using true blood river water. Lin Feng said in his heart. This is an outright dark magic item, who'd have thought this guy actually still had this up his sleeves. Lu Yang slanted his eyes looking at Lin Feng and sneered. This is a magic item I obtained when I killed a dark cultivator before, it was refined using precisely the tainted blood in this nether blood river. Looking at the 9 fluttering blood.red banners above the nether blood river, Lin Feng's expression did not change, but cold sweat had already appeared in his palms. This guy's cultivation level is pretty high and he also has this kind of magic item in his hands. If I wasn't scheming against him while he wasn't guarding against me, I'd pretty much be dead today. But no matter how sly you are, you've still gotta drink your Papa Lin's dirty water. TL. I tried. Lin Feng stood on top of the stone beam, humbly bowing down. I wish your greatness success. Lu Yen smiled noncommittally. He is just arrogant and not stupid, but the problem is that at present for him who is at the Aurus core stage, Lin Feng who only has a level of Chi disciple level 10 was honestly like a mundane person to him, he could crush him to death with one finger. Towards opponents with little difference in strength, Lu Yang naturally put some thought into things, but for cases where the difference between both sides is so great that he can easily steamroll over with just his strength, Liu Yang was honestly too lazy to use his mind. Besides this nether blood river in front of me, there's nothing else that can pose a threat to me. And now with these 9 blood lake banners forming a formation to protect me, I'm not afraid of the tainted blood eroding my mana. Everything is set. Thinking here, Liu Yang snorted and then walked forward, directly stepping into the blood lake. Lin Feng stood on top of the stone beam. His expression was calm and collected, but he was actually extremely nervous in his heart. Now that Liu Yang has entered into the blood lake, Lin Feng instantly breathed a sigh of relief. He watched as Liu Yang nonchalantly stood in the center of the blood lake, his body surrounded by 9 blood-red banners blocking the turbulent tainted blood for him. Lin Feng curled his lips. He really thinks this place is his home field. Smiling for a moment, Liu Yang's expression was relaxed. He lifted his hand and formed a spell sign. The 9 blood lake banners beside him all shook together and a dark purple blood aura faintly flowed over the banners. While the blood aura flowed, it gradually merged together and went deep into the nether blood river below Liu Yang's feet. Instantly, the seething blood lake had a trend of gradually calming down. Seeing this, Liu Yang smiled complacently, lifting his eyes and looking towards Lin Feng who was above him. Lin Feng was also smiling, but his smile was completely different from the humble and submissive smile from before. He was laughing extremely triumphantly. Liu Yang's face sank. "What are you laughing about?" Lin Feng laughed, saying. "I'm laughing that the show has only just started, the good stuff is at the back." While speaking, Lin Feng stomped his feet, heavily stomping on the stone beam he was standing on and directly crushing the stone beam. Countless stone fragments fell towards the blood lake like it was raining. Liu Yang furrowed his brows, an expression of surprise and anger surfacing on his face. But very quickly his eyes narrowed into a slit. He suddenly discovered that after Lin Feng crushed the stone beam, a pile of bones and a pitch-black flag surprisingly appeared from the stone beam. The bones emitted a faint golden glow. Liu Yang knows that this is the result of their Aurus Core mana not dispersing and merging together with their remains after an Aurus Core stage cultivator passes away, similar to Buddhist Sariras. But what Liu Yang was more concerned about was that pitch-black flag. The pitch-black flag looked extremely ordinary, not a hint of any mana fluctuations were released from it, causing Liu Yang to be completely unaware of its existence before. This flag is precisely that black cloud flag Lin Feng wanted to collect. This black cloud flag was not actually at the bottom of the blood lake but was instead inside of the stone beam right above the blood lake. Seeing the remains and the black cloud flag, how could Liu Yang not have known that he'd been had? But before he could react, after Lin Feng crushed the stone beam, he immediately grabbed the flagpole and pulled the black cloud flag out from the fragmented rocks. With this pull, it was like a spark being thrown into a pan of oil. The entire underground palace suddenly fell into havoc. It was like the world was ending. Liu Yang's expression turned ghostly pale. He wanted to fly out of the blood lake, but who knew that the nether blood lake that was in his control a moment ago also suddenly revolted. Countless amounts of tainted blood flew into the sky like an erupting volcano. And at this moment, the originally unexciting black cloud flag also released powerful mana fluctuations. Black light flowed and it revealed its true colors. Seeing this, Lin Feng silently laughed. He did not guess wrong. The nether blood river is not an ordinary river. Its special characteristic is contaminating and devouring all life, so it is extremely dangerous. Once it crosses over to the human realm from the netherworld, it will cause disaster and go around doing evil. But after such a long period of time, the nether blood lake did not even spread the slightest bit towards the surface and was instead forced to flow underground. The reason is because of Daoist Master He Yun's remains and this black cloud flag. Daoist Master He Yun may be a wandering cultivator, but his compassionate feelings are worthy of being revered by all. After he created this cultivation abode and accidentally opened up a spatial rift between the netherworld, causing the blood river to invade the human realm, he did not shirk his responsibilities and single-handedly sealed off the Blood River breach. If not for Daoist Master He Yun's remains and his magic items suppressing this Blood River branch, don't mention this underground palace, the Nether Blood River probably would have already flooded towards the Zhou dynasty's imperial capital. After so many years, a marvelous but brittle balance had formed between the remains, magic item and the Nether Blood River, both sides were at an equilibrium. This is why the Black Cloud Flag's mana did not leak out and Lu Yang, who was at the Aurus Core stage, was also unable to sense it, because the Black Cloud Flag's mana was all cancelled out by the Nether Blood River. Now that Lin Feng has pulled out the Black Cloud Flag, with the loss of the Black Cloud Flag's mana suppression, the Nether Blood River was instantly like a beast out of its cage and roaring outwards. Lu Yang was scrambling about, the surrounding tainted blood was like a monstrous flood wanting to drown him. Right now the 9 Blood River banners were like candles in the wind. Not only were they unable to help Lu Yang, they were instead like wandering sons who had returned home and were about to throw themselves into the embrace of the Nether Blood River. What Lu Yang practices is in then end not the Blood River's secret art. When the Nether Blood River is calm he can still rely on the Blood Lake banners to protect himself, but now that the Blood Lake has fallen into a frenzy he immediately became in jeopardy. Lu Yang's eyes were crimson red and staring at Lin Feng. "You Daoist, die." Disregarding the blood water that had already stained his body and was wildly contaminating his mana, Lu Yang patted his sword scabbard and a beam of sword aura even more frenzied than the Blood Lake shot straight towards Lin Feng's head. The Shaoshang sword, the most domineering of Mdishu's 6 meridian swords and also the most domineering sword technique in the world. Before the sword aura had even jumped out of the scabbard, Lin Feng already sensed that he'd been enveloped by an extremely chilling murderous intent. He felt as if even his soul was about to be frozen, a thought couldn't stop appearing in his heart. Don't dodge, there's no point, with such a powerful sword aura death is guaranteed. When the sword aura truly appeared before him, Lin Feng, who was transfixed by the sword pressure, even felt that his mind had already stopped, not even a thought could turn in his head. The sword aura did not touch his body, but just the wind brought up by the sword was about to cut him into pieces. If he didn't have any preparations, Lin Feng would without any doubt die under this vengeful attack of Lu Yang's. But right now he smiled faintly, he even had the spare time to wave his hands towards Lu Yang to say goodbye. "Buddy, you really are a good person. If not for you I'd still have to rack my brain about how to seal this Nether Blood River after pulling out the flag, thanks." While speaking, the Black Cloud Flag in Lin Feng's hand lightly shook. Black light rose up and it had already opened up the void, sweeping up Lin Feng and disappearing out of sight. No, Lu Yang watched in near hopelessness as Lin Feng disappeared on the spot, his violent and domineering powerful sword aura could only cut at the empty air. The next moment he was already swallowed by the boundless blood sea. "If I don't die, then even if I have to chase you to the ends of the world I will cut you into 1,000 pieces." TL. Future cameo appearance confirmed. Lu Yang's angry howls seemed to still echo in the air. Lin Feng picked his ears. "How's about you first be a good boy and replace the Black Cloud Flag to suppress the Nether Blood River for me, and then we'll talk." In the first place he never expected to screw over Lu Yang and kill him so easily like this, or else after he took away the Black Cloud Flag it would be him having a headache about the flooding Nether Blood River. How things are right now is pretty good. With Lu Yang acting as the sacrificial lamb, to protect himself he can only do his best to suppress the swelling Blood River, and the Blood River thus then becomes Lu Yang's cage. Lin Feng remarked from the bottom of his heart. What a good person. This kind of good person who sacrifices himself for others is honestly too few, or else how wonderful and happy of a world would this be. As for whether or not this guy will get out one day, this was temporarily out of Lin Feng's control. For Lin Feng, this is pressure and also motivation to keep going higher, urging him to improve his own strength as quickly as possible. The most important matter right now is still to first find those 3 poor disciples of his. Chapter 49. We are from the Yu Clan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lin Feng played with the black cloud flag that had already shrunk to the size of his palm. This is the first Aurus Core stage magic item that he has obtained. Even though it has been tainted by the Nether Blood River and its power is less than 30% of its peak state, even then it is still an extraordinary magic item. It is more powerful than all of the magic items Lin Feng currently has, even the Northern Aurora sword is a cut below. The Black Cloud flag combines attack and defense in one and has the ability to shift through space for short distances. It really is nice. Even more importantly is that different from the Northern Aurora sword, this Black Cloud flag is an Aurus Core stage magic item. Within it there are spell formations that automatically absorb spiritual energy to nourish itself. When using it, Lin Feng instead does not expend that much mana like the Northern Aurora sword. But how to cleanse the tainted blood on the flag in the future and let it restore its original luster is a very troublesome matter. Right now what made Lin Feng pleased was the system notification sound that rose up in his mind. Host has obtained the Black Cloud flag and completed the random side quest Black Cloud Underground Palace, reward 500 trading points. Lin Feng laughed. Before he finds out the pattern of the lottery system he actually better prefers these down-to-earth trading points. Compared to the lottery system that depends on luck, the items in the trading system with a clear price tag are a bit more dependable. He buys whatever he wants. Of course the pretense is that he has enough trading points. After pondering for a moment Lin Feng was not in a rush to exchange for anything and instead decided to save up the points. Based on his experience, if he can take in a third disciple, besides a lottery chance the system will also reward 500 trading points. Lin Feng plans on saving up some points and then going on a shopping spree. Just as he guessed before, as Taoist Master He Yun's soul-bound magic item the Black Cloud flag is indeed closely connected to this Black Cloud Underground Palace. The mana within the magic item is inextricably linked to the spiritual energy flowing in the underground palace. After Lin Feng refined the Black Cloud flag using his own mana, his mind communicated with the flag and a detailed map of the Black Cloud Underground Palace instantly appeared in his head. If there's a map then that makes things simple. Lin Feng nodded his head, thinking in his heart. Wonder if it can confirm the positions of Zhu Yi and the others. This thought just appearing, 3 dots of light instantly appeared on the map. Lin Feng was overjoyed. He knows that these 3 dots of light separately represent Xiao Budian, Xiao Yan and Zhu Yi, but afterwards what made him surprised is that these 3 dots of light were actually all gathered together. This means that his 2 disciples are together with Zhu Yi right now. Lin Feng didn't feel happy, his eyebrows instead raising up slightly. He gave another command to the Black Cloud flag. Are there other people around the 3 people? Giving the command, 5 dots of light instantly lit up on the map. Each of them was very bright and they were right around Zhu Yi and them. Lin Feng sighed, things might be a bit worse than expected. Where is Lu Yang? A massive dot of light appeared on the other side of the map. Its brightness was stronger than all of the previous dots of light put together. Although this massive dot of light representing Lu Yang was flashing constantly, presumably due to Lu Yang wrestling it out with the Nether Blood River. Lin Feng's forehead heavily wrinkled. Just as he thought, the brightness of the dots of light represent the height of the target's level. Lu Yang's dot of light is the brightest and matches with his Aurus Core stage level. Zhu Yi's dot of light is the weakest, it was practically unseeable from being surrounded by the 5 big dots of light. Xiao Budian's brightness was about the same as Xiao Yan's but his was also faint. Those 5 big dots of light very likely represent 5 foundation establishment stage cultivators. This means that not only Zhu Yi, even Xiao Yan and Xiao Budian have also landed in their hands. Regardless of whether they're the Society of the Strong Gale or the House of the Marquis of Xuanji, for Lin Feng it's all not good news. Hope they're not hurt. Lin Feng shook the Black Cloud flag and disappeared from the spot. When he reappeared Lin Feng had already been transported to the location of Zhu Yi and company. Under the help of the Black Cloud flag it was like Lin Feng had become one with the Black Cloud Underground Palace. Only Lu Yang and Huang San, those kinds of Aorus core stage cultivators, can discover his existence. These foundation establishment stage cultivators are unable to sense him. Lin Feng did not show himself at the first moment. He plans on first looking at the situation. With this look, Lin Feng couldn't help but be a bit stupefied. The scene in his imagination of his 3 disciples being captured and being tortured in every possible way and then not submitting did not appear. In the tunnel, Xiao Budian and Xiao Yan both had a calm demeanor and were chatting happily with 6 cultivators of the House of the Marquis, walking towards the surface together. Only Zhu Yi, even though he was a bit downcast, he was still in a normal mood and did not receive any trouble, following behind everybody in advancing forward. Huang San was killed by Lu Yang. These cultivators of the House of the Marquis were all a bit at a loss. Lu Yang witnessed the truth of them being together with Zhu Yi. Under this kind of circumstance, if they insist on killing Zhu Yi and pushing the blame onto the Society of the Strong Gale, things won't be as easy to fool. It looks like Lu Yang won't care about such a minor matter, but if news travels out, then that would be very bad. To save face, the Marquis of Xuanji would definitely kill them and bury them with Zhu Yi. Due to this kind of consideration, after some deliberation, the 6 people finally decided to just bring Zhu Yi back like this. Whatever the outcome, it's still considered an achievement. But who would have thought that they'd encounter Xiao Budian and Xiao Yan, who had become separated from Lin Feng. To this date, no matter how you count it, Xiao Budian is still only 4 years old. A level of Qi disciple level 6 was truly as eye-catching as a firefly in the night. The shock that he brought to this group of foundation establishment stage cultivators was even greater than compared to the Blaze Sword sect at Wuzhou City. Xiao Budian at that time, who was still only at Qi disciple level 4, already stunned elderly who was at the Aorus core stage. Now with his level of Qi disciple level 6 and matched with his cute, clean child appearance, the massive contrast made this group of foundation establishment stage cultivators temporarily lose their ability to think. And then they reacted over. If they don't pull this kind of talented child with prodigious potential into their sects, their sect founders would definitely jump out from their graves in anger. Regardless of the purple fine-clothed middle-aged man or the 5 element sect cultivators, they all surrounded Xiao Budian with smiling faces. In comparison, Xiao Yan's current strength of Qi disciple level 7 at the age of 15 was not very remarkable. After the affair with the Blaze Sword sect, Xiao Budian had a clear understanding of his situation and knows that a lot of people covet his talent. He just has a playful spirit still, but he actually matured very early. These days following Lin Feng, the little guy has become even more slippery. Facing the group of foundation establishment stage cultivators who surrounded over, Xiao Budian did not shy away. His big, black eyes turned and he revealed a pair of shiny little canines, saying with a smile, "How do you do, uncles and grandpas?" Junior Yu Hao pays his respects. Xiao Yan's eyes flashed and he also said very politely, "Junior Yu Yan greets everybody." You. These cultivators may all have different sects and teachings, but they all work in the House of the Marquis of Xuanji and are well knowledged. Hearing Xiao Budian and Xiao Yan call their surnames Yu, the first reaction in their minds was the Zhou dynasty's neighboring country, one of the 4 great clans of the Great Qin dynasty, the Yu clan. The leader of the 5 people of the 5 elements sect, the yellow-clothed old man, asked with a smile, "Little buddy, your surname is Yu. Are you a child of the Great Qin dynasty's Yu clan?" Xiao Budian heavily nodded his head and said with a smile, "Yeah, old grandpa, how do you know we are from the Yu clan? Do you recognize someone from my clan?" The Yu clan's name reverberates like thunder. Unfortunately, I have not had the fortune to meet a clan member. The yellow-clothed old man's face became even more sincere, but in his heart he was very disappointed. A person from the Yu clan, that's not easy to fight for. The Yu clan that is ranked amongst the Great Qin dynasty's 4 great clans, they could also be considered well known in this world. Of course they can't compete with the 3 great holy lands, but like the Blaze Sword sect, they are both dominant powers within the borders of the Great Qin dynasty. The Yu clan's heritage may be inferior to the Blaze Sword sect that has been around for 10,000 years, but because of family blood their bonds are even stronger than a sect. The 6 Foundation establishment stage cultivators all looked at each other and called out unfortunate in their hearts. With this little guy's talent, even in the Yu clan he's definitely the most precious little baby. Don't mention their sects, even if the Empty Shoe Sword sect and the Void Temple came to ask for him they would still be given the cold shoulder. One middle-aged cultivator of the 5 Elements sect secretly transmitted his voice towards the yellow-clothed old man. The Qin dynasty's diplomatic envoys did indeed arrive at Tianjing City a few days ago. Could there be people of the Yu clan amongst them, and this child followed the elders of his family over? The yellow-clothed old man did not bat an eyelid and still looked towards Xiao Budian with a smile, asking, "Why did you guys come here?" Xiao Budian answered innocently. "Me and my clan brother came out to play together and saw a cave in the distance, so we came in to check it out. Who knew that we couldn't get out anymore? Can you bring us out, old grandpa?" Chapter 50. Keep silent. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Me and my clan brother came out to play together and saw a cave in the distance, so we came in to check it out. Who knew that we couldn't get out anymore? Can you bring us out, old grandpa? In the dark tunnel of the underground palace, Xiao Budian's sweet child voice crisply rose up. Lin Feng, who was silently following behind them, shook his head and smiled. This little guy really is good at playing dumb and acting adorable, with just a little bag he dragged in the entire Yu clan. Despite this little imp looking all cute and lovely, he's probably thinking about how to knock other people out from behind. I've got to be careful in the future too and not be fooled by this little guy's harmless outer appearance. This little imp really knows how to cause trouble. Hearing Xiao Budian's question, the yellow-clothed old man said with a smile, "We're on our way back to Tianjing City too. It just so happens that we can also bring you guys back. Your family must be worried sick." When he said this, his eyes were tightly locked on Xiao Budian. The other 5 people also had the same action. Xiao Budian blinked his big, black eyes, his eyes revealing a color of joy and cheering aloud. "Great." Xiao Yan at the side also revealed an expression of "We're saved." The 6 cultivators of the house of the Marquis of Xuanji all secretly nodded their heads. Looks like these 2 little kids don't seem to be faking it, they are indeed from the Yu clan. Little did they know that Xiao Yan and Xiao Budian had already made an agreement beforehand. If they encounter trouble, then they'll raise the Yu clan's flag. The 2 people may not have seen Zhu Yi in person before, but they've both heard Lin Feng describe his appearance before, which is why they recognized Zhu Yi with one look when they met. And it was very evident that even though these 6 people are cultivators of the house of the Marquis of Xuanji, they are not on friendly terms and were bringing along Zhu Yi like escorting a prisoner. Senior and junior apprentice brother looked at each and unanimously decided to save Zhu Yi. But the vast mana fluctuations of the 6 people told them that these 6 people were all Foundation establishment stage cultivators. Don't mention the 6 of them together, even if there was only one person, them 2 together wouldn't even be the match for one hand. Thinking that the yellow-clothed old man mentioned that their family was waiting at Tianjing City, Xiao Budian secretly moaned in his heart. He didn't know before that people from the Yu clan had actually come to the Great Zhou dynasty and arrived at Tianjing City. Xiao Yan swept him with the corner of his eyes, hinting at him to calm down. Xiao Budian collected himself and then got close to Zhu Yi, asking curiously, "Big brother, are you also training with your elders?" The yellow-clothed old man laughed. The other people also started laughing. Their smiling faces were very strange. One of them laughed, saying, "Little buddy, he is not the same as you, he's nothing but a scholar who learned a Dao technique without permission." Hearing this, Zhu Yi raised his brows and said calmly, "Even though it is not of my free will, but just looking at the results it could indeed be considered training." The yellow-clothed old man slightly knit his brows and became angered in his heart. He knew that Zhu Yi was talking about the matter of Huang San being killed by Lu Yi with one attack. But Xiao Budian does not care about what Zhu Yi's eye opener is pointing at. Instead, he is a bit curious right now as to why his master would have his eyes on this green-clothed scholar as a disciple. At this moment, the purple-fine-clothed middle-aged man who was silent the entire time suddenly lifted his head and said with a heavy voice, "Wait, something's wrong." Everybody was startled. The purple-fine-clothed middle-aged man first stared at Xiao Budian. "You practice a thunder class Dao technique." He then turned his gaze towards Xiao Yan. "You practice a fire class Dao technique." The other Foundation establishment stage cultivators also reacted over, all of them using their mana to investigate and discovering that it was indeed so. The expressions on their faces all became dark. The yellow-clothed old man said slowly, "The water class Dao technique, the art of the water god, is known throughout the entire world. Why don't you two practice the Dao technique of your clan?" TL. Dao technique name subject to change. Xiao Budian's and Xiao Yan's hearts slightly sank. They didn't think that they would reveal a flaw here. The two people's minds rapidly turned. Xiao Budian answered while maintaining his composure. "Whatever Dao technique my master teaches me is whatever I learn." The yellow-clothed old man's face became dark. "Nonsense, if you really are a direct descendant of the Yu clan, how could you take an outsider as your master?" "Because his master is even stronger than the Yu clan." A calm voice lightly rose up. Lin Feng slowly walked out and appeared before everybody. Xiao Budian and Xiao Yan revealed a smile at the same time, bowing towards Lin Feng. "Greetings, master." The yellow-clothed old man creased his brows. "You talk big, may I ask who you are?" Zhu Yi stared at Lin Feng, his eyes revealing a hint of surprise, but he did not say anything. He didn't say anything, but Lin Feng approached him on his own. After closely observing Zhu Yi for a while, he let out a sigh. "I nearly missed you back then. I really didn't think that you are actually Binyan's son. You've already grown so big." With this remark, Zhu Yi instantly became rooted on the spot. The cultivators of the House of the Marquis stared at Lin Feng in puzzlement, only that yellow-clothed old man was dumbfounded and shocked. You actually know Meng Binyan." Of the 6 people, only this old man vaguely knows Meng Binyan's background. The other 5 people all think that she is just a concubine of the Marquis of Xuanji. They've never even paid attention to her exact name before. Lin Feng did not respond to the old man, just continuing to stare at Zhu Yi. "That day the reason I headed towards Spring Mountain was to visit the grave of an old friend. I came across you by chance, but I did not recognize you. Afterwards, only after asking that old monk in the temple, did I know that you are Binyan's son." Lin Feng said with deep feeling. "That you can regularly go and sweep your mother's grave is very good. The world has already forgotten Meng Binyan, but at least she has left something valuable in this world." Zhu Yi's eyes turned slightly red. He bowed his body and said, "Even though I have never heard my mother mention you, but my mother has passed away for many years and you can still remember her. I thank you here on behalf of my mother." Lin Feng's eyes stared straight at Zhu Yi. He said slowly, "In that past I once promised your mother that if you were willing, I could take you in as my successor and teach everything I know to you, helping you step upon the path of immortals and live an unrestrained life for eternity. Zhu Yi, are you willing?" Zhu Yi's face revealed an expression of contemplation. Lin Feng did not rush him and calmly stood on the spot. But the cultivators of the House of the Marquis were upset. Starting from the leading old man, they all stared angrily at Lin Feng and scolded aloud. "Young Lord Yi is the son of the Marquis of Xuanji. Who he chooses as his master, what path he walks in the future and what kind of life he lives will naturally be arranged by the Marquis. All young Lord Zhu has to do obey. I believe that the Marquis arrangements will always be the best. The Marquis of Xuanji, Marquis Zhu, is his father. Don't mention that Meng Binyan has already died a long time ago. even if she was still alive she would still just be a concubine by the Marquis' side, she has no power to interfere in the Marquis' decisions. The Marquis is the pillar that hold up the sky of the Zhou dynasty, the golden bridge above the sea. He is the sky of the house of the Marquis of Xuanji. All personnel and matters within the house of the Marquis have to follow the Marquis arrangements or else that is going against the heavens and they will suffer the wrath of heaven. Leave quickly you Daoist. This world may be big, but if you aggravate the Marquis of Xuanji there will be no place in this world for you. Lin Feng didn't even look at them, his eyes were staring at Zhu Yi the entire time. At this moment he turned his head and indifferently glanced at them. Ednel.co, when I am speaking with someone, keep silent. Finishing speaking Lin Feng casually waved his hand. Dazzling golden light flew into the air and illuminated the entire tunnel, boundless mana swept the entire area.